Today we're going to be changing the brake discs or brake pads, also flushing out the old brake fluid and putting new fluid inside, which I would recommend if you're going to go on ahead and change them anyway. Just make sure everything's running as best as it can. If you've got a newer car with an electronic handbrake, you're going to need to get the correct software so you can keep the handbrake open while you change the rear discs and pads. Otherwise you ain't going to be able to do this. So you can use like VCDS, Vagcom, or BD11, that'll do Vag cars. Just make sure you've got the supported software before you go ahead and attempt to change them. If you've got a car like this one and it's just got a normal handbrake, it'll be fine. I'll go ahead and start by cracking the lug nuts on each wheel. Not to take them out, just to crack them to loosen them before you lift the car up. Make sure you've got a jack and axle stands that are rated for the weight of the vehicle. If you're unsure of the jacking points, just have a quick check online, or you look in the owner's manual and it'll show you where to put an axle stands in this beautiful weather to be working in as well. So what you want to do is crack each of the lug nuts. Like I said before, do not loosen them. It is on this particular car 21mm socket that'll go over the normal lug nuts, and then the locking. Make sure you've got the locking key in place securely to prevent it from rounding. Right, so once you go ahead and start jacking a car, try and get a torch. You're going to see a seal. So roughly look something like this. There's various points in the car. You're going to go ahead and jack from one of these points. If you're unsure, make sure you look at the owner's manual or something online that states where to do it for your car. And then you're going to go ahead and place your axle stands on the same seal, which is the jacking point to the car. And then slowly, what you'll do is you'll slowly release the jack, and the car will then sit on to these axle stands, as you can see, very slowly. And there we go, and the jack should lower, and now the car is securely on the axle stands. And now what you can do is completely remove the wheels. If you've got access to a gun like this, it'll make it a lot easier. Also, a magnet tray is a good idea to keep all your nuts safe. And you can go ahead and remove the wheel. And this one, you see, we've got an issue. It looks like they've not put copper grease on the ring. So what you can go ahead and do, behind the back of the tyres, get a hammer. Don't hit it very hard, just gently just try and hit it, but try and go for the tyre and not damage the alloy, and it should come off. As you can see, his suspicions were right. It's very well corroded. There should be copper grease around this ring I mentioned earlier, and should also put copper grease around these lug nuts. Well, sorry, not lug nuts, these studs, to help get the lug nuts out, which looks like it hasn't been done in a very long time. So we'll go ahead and before we take these apart, we'll give it a quick clean. You can use a little toothbrush, scourer. Make sure you've got brake cleaner, because you'll have to clean up the components. I'll show you that in a bit, but just a little tip, it'll make work in the future easier. So what you want to go ahead and do now is you'll want an Allen key adapter, and you'll just remove the cap off of the top. I've just lost that one. I'll have to pick it up in a sec. There's one there, and then There's also one, should be down here behind the caliper. Don't know if you can quite see. Just there. Little focus. So what you'll do, just put your socket in. These may need a little bit of help from an hammer. Well, what you'll do is you'll just use an hammer if yours are like this and they're on a bit stiff. Just crack it. Don't hit it too hard to damage it, because you might also get the Allen key stuck. Once you've backed both of them bolts up, the caliper will be free. Remember, when you've got a caliper, try to have it lifted up, so even if you've got a bit of metal cable, zip ties, anything, or just place something on the side there, just try and have it so these brake lines are not being stretched and you don't damage them. So once you've got both of them bolts out the back, well, not got them out, but you've undone them, I'm going to go ahead and get a pair of pliers and move both of these tabs like this. And then, depending if it's seized or not, like everything else seems to be today, you may just need to persuade it with a hammer as well. Gates come loose. I'll go ahead and get a smaller hammer and I'll just prise it off, and that should release your calipers for you. Yeah, once you've popped your caliper off, you'll be able to just pull your brake pads out. You might, if they're on really corroded, you'll be able to just get a prise bar or an hammer like this and just gently just pop it out, and they'll slide straight out. And what you'll need to do now, because you've still got a bracket, I don't know whether the camera's going to focus very well, there's going to be a bolt here and a bolt here. You just undo them and the bracket will then pop off and you'll be able to slide the disc out. Make sure, if I didn't mention earlier, before you go ahead and start on the rear, you've taken the handbrake off. As you can see, these are quite stuck because the calipers will need winding in. We'll do that when we do the fluid and everything, but just a little. You can see where the rust is actually there stuck on. Hopefully these ones won't be as much hassle as the front. Right, so I'm going to show you from the back of the car, because this is where the back, if you haven't noticed, the lighting's in the favour. So what we're going to do first is going to clean everything down, some brake cleaner. I'm going to clean it all down. It'll stop you from having issues in the future like I had. You'll be able to go around here like this with a wire brush. You'll be better off, to be honest, with a scourer. I'm just giving you a quick show. Then what you'll do, once you've done that, you'll get some copper grease. What I normally do is I use a toothbrush because it's a bit easier. You just put your copper grease on your studs and you just put it around here as well. And then when you go to put these two more bolts down here, I'll show you if we can get a focus. See the two bolts on the floor, there and there, they've come out of the back of your hanger. You'll want to do the same thing, clean them up quickly, them two, and put a bit of copper grease on. It'll help you for the future when you go ahead and do it. And what you'll do here, we'll back that in a sec. We'll back that in. I'll show you in another video, but we'll go ahead and back that in first, and then on the back of our new pads, we put it on the back side, we'll put a bit of copper grease on as well, and I'll show you that. Just a little update this. So once you've gone ahead, put copper grease and everything, you can quickly see here, put around the ring and the bolts. You'll want to get a winding tool, big caliper. I'll try and do this as best as I can. So you'll have it, you'll get the prick right size, and it'll fit into the grooves. So go ahead, slide this in here, and maybe, right, I'll just have to adjust that quickly. Go ahead and put that in there. This is really awkward to do this while on camera, I'm sorry for this. And go ahead. Right. Let me just be back with you in a second, because I can't do this while the camera's in this position. Right, there we go. Got in position a bit better. So what you'll want to do, that's edge, put it in place, make sure the holes are lining up like that. Make sure it's all in. What'll happen is when I go ahead and twist it, you should see the piston go back inside. Appears like it's come loose, yeah it has. So no worries, just readjust it again. And I'll adjust this in. I'll do this again. Like this. Right, so we'll go ahead, put them back in. Got screws like so. There we go. And just adjust this again. Be able to continue to wind them in. And once you've done that, they'll be separated. There we go, that's done. So you can pull it back out. You'll notice that they're pushed all the way down. So we can go ahead and slide our disc on, and we can put a bracket on, which I'll do now. Right, so once you got your caliper bracket on, it should look something like this. So you can go ahead and then pop your brake pads in. Should open up now. This is what your front one will look like on this particular car. So you just pop that straight in here, like so. And this is the rear, and that'll just pop in the same way, just in the back. Little tip is, like I said before, you can just go ahead and put some copper grease on the back of the pad. It'll help it from preventing it from squealing when you're braking. And you can repeat the process on the front brakes as well. And then what you'll want to do is just go and put it back together again. You just pop your caliper over, you put that over there like so. Once your two bolts are in, you can then put the wheel back on the car. Once you've gone and put everything back together, you'll be ready to lower your car. Make sure you've put your handbrake on though before you go and put the wheel on and then lower it again. You don't want it rolling away. Just double check all your bolts and everything. Make sure you've got copper grease around the places that I've shown you. And what I normally do, which I've already done, is I use the brake cleaner and just spray the brakes and the pads just so you know they're nice and clean. I'm not putting my wheel on because I'm going to be flushing the brake system, and I'll make another video on that because I don't want this one being too long. And I'll see you next time.